as usual, so hang tight.
Fantasy football, you dealing with the best. Keep it hype, authentic, this ain't nothing like the rest. With the Armchair Fantasy Show podcast, give advice for all the listeners to improve your stats. Yeah, we live on goingfor2.com. Tuesdays and Fridays, this is what you want. Talking dynasties and daily drafts, and we just getting started, that ain't even the half. Yeah, so go ahead, tell your friends to join. Going for two, cause no one remembers the extra point. Ayy, goingfor2.com, the Armchair Fantasy Show.
What is going on, guys? All right, welcome to episode 166 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are here every Wednesday and Friday night on Periscope, Facebook Live, YouTube, and we're also on Twitch now. Of course, we're syndicated in all major podcast networks and streaming in the Going for Two app for iOS and Android. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. Ryan, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. Does it being on Twitch mean I can play video games while we podcast? I'm not sure what it means.
I just threw it on Twitch just for the hell of it. You know, try to get some of those generational kids that are on there all the time. I don't even know if we'll get any views on there or not, but I figure it's worth a shot.
Cool. Yeah, dude, all good. Injury bug hasn't hit too hard, minus the Scott Fishbowl, and I think Carson Wentz is worse than an injury for me, so
yeah,
there's that.
I'm with you on that. I have some Carson Wentz as well. Also, as I mentioned at the top, we have a great guest tonight. He's coming on the show for his first time. He's from FantasyTeamAdvice.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Matt MacCoy NFL. Mr. Matt MacCoy, man. Matt, how you doing tonight?
What's going on, gentlemen? Ready to rock and roll? I would be lying if I didn't say I pulled a hamstring jumping on the podcast here, so I'm already catching an injury bug like everybody else. But we're going to make it out okay, I guess.
Good stuff. All right, Matt, give us a little rundown on your career in fantasy and how long you've been playing, and just anything else you wanted to plug. Plug your show, obviously.
Yeah, man, it's a blast. First and foremost, appreciate you guys having us on. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. Looking forward to it. FTA, man, FantasyTeamAdvice.com. I know, Jeff, you used to hang around those parts back in the day, man. You know a little bit about them, but, it's a community of sports guys, man, talking sports all the time. Might be football like we're doing right now. Could be NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, whatever it is, man. It's a cool place, man. They got me on here doing podcast form, doing a little bit of writing, but mostly podcast stuff. We've been rocking and rolling. Just did complete our Podpalooza over there at FTA. I was telling you gentlemen before we hopped on here, it's like 78 podcasts in 30 days, something nuts, man.
Crazy.
Dropped me right to the bottle, I can tell you that right now. It was good stuff, man. A lot of blast. Had some awesome guests on. Some really awesome people joined us, and I had time of my life doing it. Very fortunate, man. I get to write for Dynasty Nerds. I write for them and do the rankings over there. I write for Fantasy Sharks, and over on Fantasy Pros, I do the rankings and the betting aspect of it as well. My claim to fame in this whole industry is last year I was number one on Fantasy Pros as far as the betting. So if you want to win a little cash, hook me up.
Nice. Yeah, I saw that on your Twitter page there. You were the number one rank. I don't know what they call it. Is it ranking when you're doing betting? I don't know how that works, but you're the number one overall last year on Fantasy Pros, or Betting Pros is what they call it.
Man. It was crazy. It's a wild ride, man. I've never been that hot before. Probably never be that hot again. But I'm gonna live it up while I can.
All right, good stuff. All right, guys, real quick before we get to the news and notes, I wanted to plug one more time all of our live shows that we have. We are actually live, seriously, every night now, guys. We got a Thursday night show with Dan and Jay. Our Friday show is the DFS show. Then Saturday night, we got Clay on here. He does some game scripts. Sunday morning, we got a bunch of people that come on in the morning to answer all your sit-start questions. Monday night, we have Kyle and the gang there. They're doing the Monday night recap of the week. So we're live literally every night. So make sure you check us out on our channel, our YouTube channel, Facebook Live, however you find us. Subscribe to us, and we'll be live in your living room every night. All right, let's get to the news and notes.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, news and notes, as always, is brought to you by Society Socks. Bold socks with a social cause. For every pair of socks you buy, a pair is given to charity. Visit mysocietysocks.com/armchair. Use my promo code armchair and get 50% off your first month subscription. All right, we got tons of news and notes tonight because there were so many injuries. So we're going to have to divide and conquer here. I'm going to just give each one of y'all a topic to talk about each one. We can't all cover them because we would never get through this podcast tonight. So Ryan, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Mr. Cortland Sutton is out for the year. Unfortunate because we all predicted big things for him this year. What do you think of this team now? How is this going to shake out? Is that Jerry Jeudy? Is it going to be Noah Fant? And of course, they also lost their quarterback too, which isn't going to help. So what are your thoughts on Sutton?
Yeah, it sucks. But yeah, I mean, they got a few guys still on there. I'm really excited to see for Jerry Jeudy because he was my top wide receiver coming to the draft. I love the situation there, and now it's sink or swim. He's going to be thrown in the deep end to see if he can produce, and I'm here for seeing him do it. He was showing great separation the first couple games. There's a couple drop issues, but fine with that. It's completely okay, but I'm excited to see him do it. I think Noah Fant has a big role as well. I think he does a lot of the things well that Cortland Sutton can do with working in the red zone, catching the deep ball. He can stretch the field a little bit for his size. And KJ Hamler is another sneaky guy who gets some volume in that offense just because of what he can bring across the middle and with his speed.
Yeah, I love it. I wanted to ask you because I don't watch much college football. I only scout these guys after college is all said and done. But Jerry Jeudy and those drops, is that something that happened to him in college, or is that just something that was just jitters his first couple games because he's a rookie?
So it didn't happen in college. I think it was jitters as a rookie. That's why I had to mention it, but I'm not worried about it. He's solid, man. He's good at everything, and it'll come. He's rookie. He's trying to get that volume. He's on a second quarterback now. A little worried about Jeff Driscoll, but his game works well for a quarterback who may not be accurate. Is great because he's good at creating separation, making room for himself to make the play. So I think he should be okay there.
Yeah, I mean, they on that Monday night game for that week one, they showed a couple of his routes where he literally had the DB going the exact opposite direction of where he wanted to go. It was kind of crazy to watch him do that. The way they broke it down on Monday Night Football was crazy. So I do think you're right.
He's a magician, man.
Yeah, the separation is going to be there, and Driscoll's going. And I think even this past game, I think most of his production came when Driscoll came into the game. So I don't think I'm too worried about Jeudy if you own him. So I agree 100%. All right, Matt, I'm going to go to you on this next one. This next one, luckily, was not season-ending, but it is going to hurt because he was probably the number one overall pick in most drafts. Christian McCaffrey with the ankle injury. Talk about what that does for that team and what you're doing in redraft with Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, you're stashing him for a while, but can you just start him when he comes back?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting to begin with that they said it's an ankle. Originally, he was not ruled out for the game, which I get, for me, gives me some positive, vibes behind it. Ideally, it would be a 2 to 4 week injury, but we're hearing more 4 to 6 weeks in this one. So I wonder if it's more of the high ankle sprain variety. Again, listen, it's Christian McCaffrey. You cannot replace him. You have to do your best in the meantime to hold down the fort while he's out. Mike Davis is lined up to be the guy in Carolina. The good news for me is a lot of times with these offensive coordinators, Joe Brady is the one I'm speaking about, these guys are very much married to their system. So I don't think you'll see a much different approach even with Christian McCaffrey out of the game. I feel like they're going to keep the same type of game plan, utilize DJ Moore, get the ball deep to Robbie Anderson. But we saw even in a short little bit there at the end, Mike Davis was highly targeted in that game after the McCaffrey injury. So I would say wheels up in the short term for Mike Davis. If you're a Christian McCaffrey owner, Saquon Barkley owner, and you look for somebody at least for the next, I'd say, month, Mike Davis is going to be a good pickup. If you're in a fab league, I recommend anywhere from 35 to 40% of your fab. Yeah,
I'm with you on that one, too. He went for a pretty expensive price in one of my leagues. And you mentioned Saquon Barkley. We're not going to bring him up here in the news and notes because we got him. We're going to talk about him during the game previews. So I'll leave him off the news and notes. Ryan, I'm going to go back to you for this guy. I know this is another guy that we kind of loved coming in, and it's tough to see him go down. But Paris Campbell, talk about him a little bit.
It's definitely a detriment to that offense, and it kind of creates some very interesting situations. Pecking order, he was obviously behind. We assumed he's going to be behind Hilton, and we think that Michael Pittman should see a nice increase in it and his usage there. But neither of those guys are playing the position that you're seeing him play. Paris Campbell had 94% of his snaps from the slot this year. So that's going to create the hole. I think this leads to another opportunity just to keep Naheem Hines on the field.
Yeah.
Maybe it's wishful thinking, but he can work out of there. He has good hands. He's versatile. They can move him around, do end arounds and stuff. Just find a way to create space like they would with Campbell. He may not be quite the receiver he is, but he's solid enough there and explosive with the ball in his hands. So I could see him getting seeing the best boost from Campbell's injury.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he could definitely fill that slot role. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out for those that picked him up last week and started him. He kind of burned you a little bit, but going forward, I do think they find ways to get him the ball a little bit more. All right, the next couple we have here aren't quite as long lasting. At least these guys are going to come back, but just in the short term, let's talk about Sterling Shepard a little bit, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not like you're missing very much here. The Giants' offense wasn't really rolling to begin with. Now, that being said, give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, they faced Pittsburgh week number 1, Chicago week number 2. That's tough sledding to start your season. So, for me, what I'm looking for is who's going to benefit for Sterling Shepard being out. My initial impressions would be either Evan Ingram or Golden Tate. Darius Slayton's more of a big play down the field kind of guy. I don't think his impact or his role will be impacted at all. But again, I'll see an uptick for Golden Tate and Evan Ingram in the short term.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's probably Golden Tate. Evan Ingram is going to be that wants to benefit there. I think Slayton's role doesn't change at all. Those guys may even get a bigger uptick because of Saquon Barkley also being out too. So that's a twofold right there where they're going to be pretty good. So I agree.
Exactly.
Ryan, going to you with Devontae Adams, who we're still not sure. We think he's going to play this week, but we're not sure. What's that do for this offense?
I'm crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. He's out. I guess it's Allen Lazard's next man up. The closest thing to be that alpha wide receiver. I don't love any of their pass catchers outside Adams in fantasy. I'm not going to go out of my way to start him or pick him up. Lazard should be on teams already. If he's not, he's worth grabbing anyways. But there's no one I'm really reaching out and grabbing this week. I think we're going to see a steady dose of Aaron Jones and company on the ground.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's the same thing. I think we saw with Tappan last year when Adams was out. We couldn't really use any of the receivers there. Each week there was a different guy getting the target, so you never knew who it was going to be. So I think I'm with you. I do think if you had to start, Marquez, Valdez-Scantling, or Lazard, they're startable if you're in a deep league. But I don't want to have to start them if I don't have to.
It's so crazy that Rodgers can pepper one guy with 12 to 15 targets, but when he's out, he just spreads it to everybody and doesn't care.
Yep.
It's such a weird thing with him. But you can't count on somebody else to get those targets because they're not.
Yep, agree 100%. Another big name wide receiver that we're going to talk about a little bit, and it just cropped up today, Mr. Julio Jones, Matt. What are your thoughts here? I mean, he looks like he's kind of already been replaced by Calvin Ridley, at least if you're looking at the first 2 weeks. But, Julio Jones is still Julio Jones, and he still, was a top pick, top fantasy option. If he's out for a while, what are we doing with this offense?
Yeah, I mean, this was the concern coming in, right? I mean, he's an older wide receiver. Now, Julio is basically a superhuman, but, Father Time is undefeated, and these nagging injuries creep up on these guys, and this is what we were afraid of. So, to me, Calvin Ridley is right in line to be a high-end wide receiver 1 moving forward. If Julio is going to be used more of a decoy, I think it's going to benefit Russell Gage. I think Russell Gage, we've seen in the short term, he's a player, man. Again, it doesn't feel very comfortable when you play Russell Gage in your fantasy team, but he's a low-end wide receiver 2 or flex option. And we finally saw Hayden Hurst to get off last week too. Again, there's a lot of outcome here in this offense to go around. Julio, if he's not himself, remember Austin Hooper's no longer in town. Devontae Freeman's out, so there's some targets here to go around. So I still like Calvin Ridley as a high-end wide receiver 1, but Russell Gage is a sneaky play there as a low-end wide receiver 2.
Yep, I'm with you there as well. It's crazy that how much the Falcons scored last week and the points that they put up fantasy-wise that Julio Jones wasn't involved at all. So that hammy injury could be bothering him more than we want to lead us to believe.
They were the first team to ever score 39 points and have 0 turnovers and lose.
Yeah, I saw that. It was like
440 games.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yep. It just reminds me of 28-3, the Super Bowl. I mean, how many times can the Falcons have that happen to them?
They're the Falcons, man. They just find a way.
All right, a couple more injuries to talk about. The next one I got here is Mr. A.J. Brown, who actually missed last week's game. I still haven't heard much about him yet. And then, Corey Davis didn't really benefit too much. I think it went to Jonnu Smith more so. But, I mean, this offense has become sort of pass-happy, Ryan. Are you worried about A.J.B. being out for a while?
I mean, if I had him on my team, I'd probably draft him high enough where it's a little bit of an issue. But I think we see how the targets are going, man. I'm excited about Jonnu Smith. He was my guy all offseason. I have a ton of shares. I'm grabbing him everywhere. We talked him up on the show a lot.
Yep.
He looks really good. He's athletic. He makes plays. They showed he can handle the target share. It's awesome. And then Corey Davis I think he's going to be usable. I mean, you're not going to feel great about doing it, but he's usable. He's better than times we started him in prior years. But more than likely, it's going to be Derrick. I still think it's Derrick Henry's show. That offense runs through him.
Yeah, I agree. I think Henry's had a little bit of a rough start to the first two games, but I do think he gets back on track. They're still giving him tons of volume. Just a matter of time before he breaks out and has a huge game.
The volume's there, and the longer teams play, the more beat up they are, and the more tackling at 250-pound Derrick Henry becomes just not fun.
Yep. And as far as Corey Davis goes, you almost have to forget that he was a top pick. If you forget he was a first-round pick, if you forget he was a top pick in rookie drafts for your dynasty leagues, forget all that and just look at him as what he is now. He's a high-end wide receiver 3. He could fill your flex spot. He's fine. He just got to get that bust mentality out of your head. So, great. Let's do one last one here. Jimmy G. He's looked like he's probably going to be out as well. Nick Mullins steps into the spotlight there in San Francisco. They're going to be playing the Giants this week. What are you doing with the options there? I mean, there's not a whole lot of options left. They're pretty much all injured right now, Matt. But what are your thoughts on Jimmy G when he does?
Well, it's a good and bad here. Originally when the injury happened, it was reported he might be out longer. Now, they haven't, I don't believe, officially ruled him out even as of this week yet. But all signs are pointing to him missing one game, potentially two, but it's short term. The only down thing about it for Jimmy G is the reason why you may have drafted Jimmy G to begin with is because that early season schedule was so cake. That's what you really wanted him for. You really wanted him to be your streamer early on, get off to a good start. Well, he's going to miss some of these games that were so attractive for him. But again, man, this offense is so banged up. No Deebo Samuel. We're anticipating George Kittle may miss his second game in a row. I believe 2 running backs, not only Tevin Coleman, but Raheem Mostert, both out in this game.
Yep.
I mean, it's a mash unit for the 49ers, not only on offense, but Bosa's out, Richard Sherman's still out. So, again, who's still healthy in San Francisco? I mean, I feel bad for Nick Mullins trying to figure out who's going to throw the football to in this matchup. So, again, I mean, if this is your only option, then you must have some pretty poor options in your league. I would look elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. Unless you're playing like a deep Superflex league, I don't think Nick Mullins is going to be viable at all. I do think, as a fan, I do think Nick Mullins takes more chances, which necessarily isn't always a good thing for the NFL, but could be good for fantasy because he throws those what we call YOLO balls, those Jameis Winston, Fitzpatrick type balls where it's like just go up there and get it. So if you got some of the receivers there, if Kittle does play, you can get some of those type balls as well. So there is one advantage there for fantasy if you have Kittle. All right, and the last one I got on here, Devontae Freeman signs with the Giants. We're going to talk about that more when we do the game preview, so we'll leave that one off. Let's go ahead and get to those game previews.
This week's game-by-game previews.
All right, guys, in case it's your first time here, this is how we do this. I assigned each one of these guys, Ryan and Matt, the games to talk about. They'll talk about each one of their games individually. A few of them are featured games that we'll talk about as a team. The ones that are featured aren't necessarily great NFL games. They're just ones that have a lot of questions for fantasy. So that's why they're featured. So the first one on the list there is one of those games I'm talking about that's not really a great NFL game, but could be a really good fantasy game. And it's the Dolphins at the Jags tomorrow night. Ryan, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Because Fitzpatrick, I mean, he had a decent week too. But the Dolphins are 0-2. And, of course, they got Tua Tagovailoa sitting on the bench over there. Do you think they're just going to ride Fitzpatrick longer, or do you think we see Tua a little bit earlier if they keep losing?
I think we're going to see a good bit more of Fitzpatrick. I could see him minimum week 8. I know it sounds really awesome to get Tua in. They had a real telling sign that came out this week about him, where they said he hasn't been tackled yet since his injury.
Mm.
That's the case. I don't feel comfortable with it. Like, you're not going to throw him on a team that's not that great. You're not going to take your franchise quarterback, get him hurt on a season where you're not going to the playoffs. Maybe he'll get some action late, but he's going to be gun shy. He needs a preseason with all he's been through. I don't think we're going to see him for a while. Like I said, I think it's going to be at least past the halfway point of the year, if not more.
Yeah, I'm
starting to be a bummer on it.
I'm with you on that. I think if you drafted him in a dynasty league, you almost drafted him with the thought process that you weren't going to have him this year anyway. So you can leave him on your taxi squad or just kind of on your bench or however you had him. If you drafted him in redraft, stop playing redraft because you don't know what you're doing unless you got a really, really deep redraft league. All right, going to the other side of things.
Breakout or fake out?
All right, breakout or fake out. I got two guys listed here. We think that Shark might actually miss this game. He's questionable as of now. We got two guys that have been showing up pretty good in fantasy stats here. Laviska Shenault versus Keelan Cole. Who do you like out of these two guys, Matt?
For this game only, I like Keelan Cole. He's developed more chemistry early on with Gardner Minshew. He seems to be the most heavily targeted option for the Jaguars. Now, you mentioned dynasty and things of that nature or the rest of the season. Long term, it's going to be Viska. I think you'll see him integrated in offense more and more. The front office and the coaching staff want to get the ball into Chenault's hands as a receiver and a runner. But for week 3 only on a short week, it's Keelan Cole for me.
Yeah, I think I'm with you in that as well. I think Laviska Shenault is nice to use because he gets used in different ways. They use him as a runner a couple times, so there is that advantage. But I think if you're looking for upside, it's definitely Keelan Cole for me as well. All right, let's pick this game. Ryan, who you got? Dolphins at Jags.
Riding that Minshew mania. Going Jags.
All right. What about you, Matt? Who you got? Dolphins at Jags.
I got the Jags to win, but close. I'm a betting guy. If you're getting 3.5, take them Dolphins.
I think I saw a meme. It was sometime last year when Minshew mania first started out, and they said that Fitzpatrick could be Minshew's father. So they're kind of like the same quarterback. So yeah,
talking trash to each other at all? Did you hear that?
Well,
yeah, beards versus mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like how Minshew's retort to Fitzpatrick was, I respect my elders, and he's very, very elder. I kind of like that.
Nice. I like it. All right. I'm taking the Jags as well. In this one, they just looked really good. A lot better than I thought they were going to look starting coming into this year. So, yeah, I take the Jags as well. So, sweep it.
We're tied, right, on the season?
Yes, we are tied. Surprisingly, it's still like we just haven't even picked any games yet because it's the same thing every week. So, going to the next game here, we got the Texans at the Steelers, and this is our prop bet of the week. If I can find my... There we go.
BUSR.com. Prop bet of the week.
All right, the prop bet of the week is brought to you by BUSR Sportsbook. Bet on everything from horse racing to the 2020 election. Visit BUSR.com/going-for-2 to sign up. Get a welcome bonus and bet on this weekend's NFL games. All right, this prop bet this week, Ryan, is over under Deshaun Watson, 250 passing yards. He hasn't had a great start to the season. He's played some of the toughest games you could possibly play. This one's not any better. Going up to the Steelers defense. What do you got for this one?
Poor Texans, poor Deshaun Watson. He's going to get the living crap kicked out of him again, take a ton of hits. But, that said, we got Steelers get 276 yards week 1, 256 last week. They're getting ahead on teams, and these teams are having to throw to try to come back. I think Deshaun Watson gets it, and not in a pretty way.
All right, so over 250. I did have one more note I wanted to ask you. And, Will Fuller had such a great week 1, and he wasn't even targeted last week. Are you worried about Will Fuller at all?
No. I watch a lot of Ravens football. Marlon Humphrey is a legit lockdown corner. He's given up one of the lowest passer ratings in the league. He's big. He bullies small wide receivers off the line. It was just not a good day for Will Fuller. He's not a dominant wide receiver. Once you have teams with a top 5 to 7 corner, you may see a dip in production. but I'm not worried about him going forward. It's a nice buy window.
All right, good stuff. All right, let's pick this game. Matt, we'll go to you first. Texans at Steelers. Who you got in this one?
I am big on the Steelers this week. I think we've seen it in 2 weeks so far. They're one of the most complete teams in the entire National Football League on offense and defense. I believe they smothered Deshaun Watson early. I think Big Ben and the passing weapons, they have their field day with the Texans secondary. So, yeah, Steelers in a big way for me.
All right. Ryan, who you got?
I'm going to go a little bit different on this one. I'm taking Houston. Yes, Steelers have played really good, but they've let these games against teams with mediocre at best quarterbacks, to say the least, hang with them. If you let a team like Houston without Deshaun Watson hang in there, that's how you lose a football game. And Steelers have this long reputation of playing to their opponent's level. You never see them really blow teams out, and you don't want that when you play against a good quarterback.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Ryan. Unfortunately, I'm going Texans as well here because for the same reasons that the Steelers just can't put anybody away. The defense is great, but they just kind of let teams just kind of hang around, and that's kind of what the Houston Texans want to do, just sort of hang around, win it in the fourth quarter with Deshaun Watson. So I do think that the Texans pull this one out late. All right, next game we got on the board, the Bengals at the Eagles. And Matt, we're going to go to you on this one.
It's time for this or that.
All right, this or that. I got two quarterbacks here that you're going to start one of these two guys. Carson Wentz, who has struggled, or Joe Burrow, who's actually looked pretty good so far. If you have those two quarterbacks, who are you starting this week?
This might not be popular right now. I know a lot of people out there on the Joe Burrow bandwagon. But for week number 3, to me, it has to be Carson Wentz. Again, it's surrounding cast around you. The Bengals, the weakest part of this team still remains the offensive line. I feel like the Eagles' front seven is going to get after Joe Burrow, give him some issues early on. I said it earlier today on the podcast. If not now, then when for the Eagles? They have to turn around. This week's got to be the week. I have to imagine they come up with a significant game plan, get Miles Sanders the ball, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz. I feel like this is the week that Carson Wentz has a huge week, so I'm taking Carson Wentz.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I think I'm with you on this one. I think we saw what with Baker Mayfield, what he did with the Bengals. He sort of got right against the Bengals. I think Wentz can get right as well. I do think that he's going to have a good game here. You drafted him pretty high. Burrow's still a rookie. I do think that the Eagles are good enough on defense to confuse them a little bit that I think I'm going to go Wentz as well. All right, let's pick this game, Ryan. Bengals at Eagles. Who you got?
Yeah, the Bengals are going to bangle right now, so I'm going to go Philly. I know they've had struggles, but there's still they have a good defense. They have a game plan on offense, and I don't think Carson Wentz is as bad as he's played. I think he's just not comfortable because he's been used to such a good line. So I think he bounces back against him, kind of like you guys said with Mayfield. And if he's clicking, that team clicks.
Agreed. Who you got, Matt? Bengals at Eagles.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ryan. I'm on the Eagles. More so for what you were saying, Jeff. I think they're going to be able to run the football on the Bengals like we saw 2 weeks ago with the Browns. If you recall, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt really dominated that game. I think it's a big game for Miles Sanders. When in doubt, lean on Lane Johnson and lean on that offensive line up front there. I know you had some injuries, but you still got some studs up there in between Kelsey and Lane Johnson in particular. So lean on those guys. Run the ball, Miles Sanders, and you'll get a victory.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm also going Eagles as well, so we're going to sweep it. Next one up's a featured game, the 49ers at the Giants. And Ryan, I'm going to go to you first and just discuss the Niners running backs and situation that we got going there. No Raheem Mostert, no Tevin Coleman. What are you doing there?
Jeff, I'm going to forego my comments on this and send this back to you because you're the Niners fan. You have such a better idea than what's going on there because we're talking about third, fourth string guys. I have a couple shares of both, but I have no idea what to expect.
So I think McKinnon, I believe McKinnon gets the bulk of the work, both in the passing game and running game, but they are still trying to limit him a little bit because he is coming off of basically 2 season-ending injuries in a row. They don't want to overwork him already. So Jeff Wilson Jr. is the next guy up behind him. He's also kind of a goal line back. They brought him in the past just to run in the goal line. I think last year he had like 30 carries and he had 4 touchdowns because he just was, that efficient in the red zone. So Jeff Wilson can catch passes as well, so he could be in there if they want to give McKinnon a break. And then the third guy there that is a potential ad that's interesting. If they bring him up from the practice squad is Jermichael Hasty, who was a popular rookie. I do think that they'll bring him up just to kind of be there. But if there's any other injury, or if Jeff Wilson Jr. is not getting it done, or if they just want to limit McKinnon a little bit more, I think Hasty could be a sneaky ad as well if you can get him in some of your leagues. So that's what I'm doing with the Niners running back there. McKinnon's your start. Jeff Wilson Jr. if you're really desperate, and if you're in a dynasty league, add Hasty and hope that he does something.
It's safe to say if you own any of these guys, you trap trade them.
Yes.
Especially if they have a good game.
Yep.
Like, you immediately trap trade them.
Yep. Agreed 100%. All right, Matt, we'll go over to you, and basically it's the same question. The Giants running backs, what are you doing here? They just assigned Devontae Freeman. Dion Lewis had a pretty good game last week, but they didn't have Wayne Gallman active. This week Wayne Gallman's expected to be active. So what are you doing with these 3 running backs?
I mean, do I have to?
Exactly.
I feel like this is rookie hazing, man. But, yeah, I mean, if I could segue briefly, I will say I'm going to echo what you said about the 49ers. McKinnon, I have him as a borderline RB1 this week. I love Jared McKinnon this week against the Giants. But back to the Giant backfield. Again, they just signed Freeman today. How much can you expect him in week number 1? I think you'll see his role increase as we move along for the Giants. But for this week, again, in particular, it's going to be Dion Lewis for me. I don't know how well they're going to be able to run the football against the 49ers front 7. I don't think they're going to have much success. So their only option for me is to try to get your running back open in space, find a mismatch against a linebacker, and that would be Dion Lewis. He's a pass catcher. We've seen it over the years. His years in Tennessee, if you recall, he played a big role as a receiver out of the backfield. I just put more of that in this game. So look for Dion Lewis more as a pass catcher than a runner.
Yep, I like it. I think the PPR nature of Dion Lewis is the only reason why you would play him. I don't think there's any other guy that I want to play. And this is a telling comment here. I just posted it on the screen from G-Men J on Twitter. Of course, G-Men means Giants. He's a Giants fan. He just put the 3 puke emojis on my screen. So if that tells you anything about the Giants running backs, if you can avoid them, avoid them.
That means 3-headed monster, right?
Yeah, exactly. All 3 of them are puking. All right, let's go to the next game here. Titans at Vikings. And, Matt, we're going back to you. And I want you to just discuss this new-look Titans. I mean, they're giving Tannehill the go-ahead to throw the ball. I think last week he didn't throw the ball a ton, but he had 4 touchdown passes. Week 1, he threw 42 times. What is your thoughts on this, and what does that do for Derrick Henry?
Man, I feel like the Tennessee offense is slightly evolving. Now, I like what Arthur Smith is doing in Tennessee. I'll be honest. I like the idea of opening it up a little bit, getting your playmakers involved. I know, Ryan, you mentioned earlier, I mean, Jonnu Smith is a stud tight end in the making. I love him. I know we spoke about him on our podcast. I love him as a playmaker down the field. A.J. Brown is a playmaker now. He may be out for this week, but they're finding ways to get other guys involved. It's no slight to Derrick Henry. Look, week number 1, he got the volume. He just didn't score. I have no problem how he was used week number 1 against Denver. Last week against Jacksonville, give the Jaguars a lot of credit. 2 weeks so far now, they faced Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry, and their run defense has stood up. And so that, to me, again, give the defense credit what they're given, and Arthur Smith was able to take what he was given and use play action off of that. So use Derrick Henry as a decoy, open up the defense behind him, and become a passing game. So I think you'll see the Titans offense continue to evolve, but make no mistake, it's still Derrick Henry's team. He still is the fuel to get the engine going.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And, I own Tannehill in one of my leagues, and I have Kyler Murray as my starter, and I'm debating, do I start Tannehill? I mean, he's been killing it. Now, luckily, so is Kyler Murray, so I don't got to worry too much about it. But if Murray starts to struggle there, I have a decision to make on my hands. And
you have to love them this week. The Minnesota Vikings defense, their backfield
Terrible.
Is just exploitable. So I love Ryan Tannehill this week as well.
Yep. All right, let's do the last game before the break here, Ryan. We're going to go to you on this one. It's the Washington football team at the Browns, and I have one question for you.
Cut them or keep them.
All right, obviously this is for redraft leagues. Mr. Austin Hooper, what is he, I forget how much his biggest contract was, but he had a huge contract. He's one of the top paid tight ends in the NFL. I think I saw in the chat someone says he's got 50 yards total this season. What are your thoughts on Austin Hooper, and can you drop him in your redraft leagues?
I'm not dropping him. I know it's should, but they went to Njoku early in the year before he got hurt, which gives you a sign he's in the tight end. I think this team's just trying to find his footing, and they're trying to get that connection. It's just not there yet. And tight end position is a little bit better than we've seen, but people who have the top ones aren't holding on. And I want to bet upside on a guy who's done it before if I'm kind of waiting on somebody who's on the waiver wire or maybe just available for free. I'd rather have Hooper than a lot of what's out there still, just because I know he can put up numbers. It's just he needs to be integrated in that offense.
Agreed.
You're going to have some patience.
Agreed. And I think I actually missed a game. So, Ryan, I'm going to go right back to you. We missed the Raiders at the Patriots. So, as expected, the Patriots running backs are pretty much can't be trusted in fantasy, but we are getting Damian Harris back pretty soon here. Do you think he can change that backfield, or does it make it worse?
Man, I was happy you missed this one. Once you said that. I think it makes a little bit more of a mess of it. I'd like to say he's one of the more talented backs there, just because his versatility. He's a prospect I really liked, but they just don't seem to be giving up on the way that they are with the rotating backs, doing everything being game plan dependent, and now Cam's in there doing Cam things in the running game that takes away from it even more. It's a mess. I don't really want any parts. I'm cool with him on the last spot of bench dynasty, but I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I think I was pumping up Harris all off season. Of course, he got injured, and that kind of put a damper on things. And seeing how they're running Cam Newton in the red zone there, it's tough to actually trust any of those running backs in there. We haven't picked those last couple games. Let's just run through real quick and pick them. Just give me your team. Raiders at Patriots. Who you got, Ryan?
Oh, you forgot the one before that too.
Oh, did I?
Giants.
49ers Giants. Who you got?
Danny Dimes, baby, Giants.
All right, going to Giants. Matt, who you got?
Give me the Niners up front on offense and defense. I'll stick with 49ers.
All right, I'm going Niners as well, of course. Raiders at Patriots, Ryan.
We got Raiders.
Ooh.
They're hot. I love what they're doing. I like the way that team looks, the way it's gelling. I'm going Raiders for the upset.
All right. Raiders at Patriots. Matt, who you got?
I'm going Bill Belichick, Cam Newton. I'm not buying a 3-0 Raiders team. No way.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with the Patriots as well on this one. This is one that me and Ryan will disagree on as well. Next game, Titans at Vikings. Let's pick this one, Ryan. Who you got?
Titans. Vikings suck.
Yeah, Titans. Matt,
sorry, Vikings fans.
You going Titans too, Matt?
Remember the Titans, baby, all the way.
All right, I'm also with the Titans. And the last one here, the Washington football team at the Browns. Matt, who you got for this one?
Man, to me, this is easy. The Browns. I know a lot of people were panicking after week number 1. No reason to panic. The Browns are the team here.
All right, I agree. Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going to go Browns. I was slightly considering Washington because their defensive front seven is bonkers right now. But the Browns still have enough firepower to get enough defense with Washington not having an offense. So, Browns.
Yeah, I'm going Browns as well. I do think that the secondary for Washington struggles a little bit, and I think Baker Mayfield can have a big game here, so I'll take the Browns as well. All right, now we are ready for commercial break. Hold tight. What's up, everyone? Jeff Lambert here, and I want to tell you about Society Socks. Is your sock drawer kind of boring? I know mine is. Society Socks is a men's sock subscription company that sends 2 pairs of exclusively designed socks to your door every month. These socks are made of a warm, soft, and comfortable blend of combed cotton, guaranteed to make your feet feel and look great. At the office or the bar, your socks are sure to be a hit. You might be wondering, why are they called Society Socks? Well, that's the best part. Socks are one of the most needed and least donated items at homeless shelters. Society Socks aims to change that. With every pair of socks purchased, another pair of socks is donated to homeless shelters. So on top of receiving awesome socks every month and amping up your sock drawer, you are actively making a positive change in society. With 2 surprise pairs of socks arriving at your door every month, you'll begin to grow an impressive sock collection. Visit mysocietysocks.com/armchair and enter our promo code ARMCHAIR to get 50% off your first subscription. Put an end to boring socks and subscribe today. Again, that's mysocietysocks.com/armchair and use promo code armchair. All right, guys, welcome back. I'm here with Matt and Ryan, and we're about to break down the rest of these games here. I think we got 9 more games to get through, so we gotta get through these games pretty quickly here. So we'll kick off the first one here. It's a featured game, Rams at Bills. And Matt, I'm gonna go to you first. And I wrote down the notes here. I just wrote down one name, Tyler Higbee. Just talk about him a little bit and what his game last week did for you.
Yeah, as an Eagle fan, it did nothing for me, Jeff. I'll tell you that right now. But hey, listen, man, 3 touchdowns on 5 catches, a small volume, but hey, this is what you were looking for. If you were on Tyler Higbee's side, if you were a Higbee stan coming into this year based upon the end of last year, this is what you were hoping for. Now, will you have this every single week? Of course not. Every week's going to be somebody different for the Rams. The production may be erratic, but hey, man, you want these weapons in a high-octane offense, and that's what the Rams appear to be.
I agree. I was buying Higbee everywhere. I was getting some flack for it from my co-host. He wasn't as big a fan as I was. So after week 1, of course, it didn't look too good for me. But after week 2, I think I should be okay. All right, Ryan, going to the Bills side of things here. And this passing game has been surprising to say the least. I mean, I think Diggs and John Brown are both killing it. Josh Allen is a MVP candidate. So can it continue? Do you think that this is a sell high for some of these receiving options, or is it a buy low for some of the running backs?
I think it's buy low for the running backs. I think this offense can absolutely continue with it. We're seeing with these young quarterbacks, the teams who are investing in them, putting talent around them like this, and it's obviously you see it when you give up a first-round pick for a receiver like Stephon Diggs. They trust him. They want that guy to succeed, and those are the guys we should be getting anyways. Now, Josh Allen is exceeding expectations right now with how he's thrown. It may not be as efficient, but it's really good, and they have an offense built for how he likes to take shots downfield. It works well in guys who get open, works well with what he has. So I think it continues. I don't love Stephon Diggs, particularly this week with the matchup against Jalen Ramsey, but all in all, I think it's a really good improvement in this passing game.
Yeah, I mean, they're dangerous now. If with that defense, that running game that we already knew about, if they can add that passing game to it too, they might be the team to beat. That could beat the Ravens or the Chiefs this year. Who knows?
Oh, pump the brakes. Maybe the Chiefs.
All right, let's pick this game. Rams at Bills. Who you got, Ryan?
Oh God, this is probably the hardest game of the week for me to pick, but I'm going to give the Bills at home. Rams look really, really good. Buffalo, I know there's no fans, but there's just something about that team, the way it is there, and just how they're playing. They're bullies, man. I love that kind of football.
All right, you got the Bills. Matt, who you got?
Man, I am all in on the Rams this week. I think the Bills are a bit overrated. So far, they've beaten the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. I'm not necessarily buying they can beat the Rams here. I've been thoroughly impressed with the Rams on offense and defense. I love the new idea of getting the ball out of Jared Goff's hands quick. I think he'll play very well on Sunday. Rams win this game, and they win it big.
All right. I think I'm going to go with the 2019 Betting Pros champion over there, Mr. Matt, and pick the Rams as well. I think the Bills, have let some bad teams kind of hang around. Even the Jets there the first week of the season kind of hung around a little bit, and we saw how terrible the Jets are. So if the Bills let the Rams hang around, the Rams are going to just take advantage of that and take care of business there on the road. So give me the Rams on this one. All right, Bears at Falcons. Matt, this is your game, and this is sort of a question we kind of talked about a little bit earlier with Julio Jones, but is Calvin Ridley the wide receiver to own rest of season? Do you think Julio Jones gets his spot back, or do you think it's just really the rest of the season?
Man, I can't believe that we're here and we're here so fast. That's the thing. I thought Calvin Ridley would eventually pass Julio Jones. I didn't think it'd be 2020. I thought it might be 2021, but I gotta say, man, I think we're here now. I think we're just seeing Calvin Ridley. He's a more complete receiver. Julio's never been that big touchdown guy, and Calvin Ridley seems to be that guy. I think he could get double-digit touchdowns this year. That's something Julio can't do. So for me, amazingly, it's Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think it's Calvin Ridley as well. We kind of saw this too when Julio Jones came into the league. You know, everybody's kind of on Roddy White, and this new kid comes in, and eventually Roddy White sort of falls off, and Julio Jones takes over. And maybe we're at that point now. Ridley's looking good the past 2 weeks. I think Ryan's looking for him. So yeah, give me Calvin Ridley the rest of the season. All right, let's pick this game. Bears at Falcons. Ryan, who you got?
Falcons are finally bringing one home. Bears just aren't that team yet. And Falcons still have a lot of talent. They've hung with some good teams. They're going to beat this one.
All right. Who you got, Matt?
Yeah, I'm with Ryan on this one. I got to say, I think the Bears might be a bit overrated as well. Again, they were down big to the Lions week number 1. Last week they beat up the Giants, and then that was a close game. The Falcons, if they were 1-1, if they held on last week with the Cowboys, we'd all be on the Falcons. So I'm going to go Atlanta here.
Yep, I'm with y'all. I'm just going to sweep it. Falcons as well for me for the same reasons y'all mentioned. The Bears I don't think are legit. So give me the Falcons. All right, next one up, Ryan. This one's yours. Panthers at Chargers.
Breakout or fake out?
Mr. Justin Herbert, to find out he was starting seconds before the game, he came out and he balled out. Is he going to be a breakout candidate rest of the season?
Yeah, he's breakout. I'm excited about it, man. That we got to see him there and show up in that fashion. The talent's there. He came in the worst possible draft class for a guy with his skill set, because if he would have came out in 2019, 2020 instead of 2020, he'd be in that consideration for first overall. He has a monster arm. He's accurate. He makes plays. He's athletic. He has the complete tool set. Looks like we're going to see him for a while now. Obviously, he's a rookie. There's going to be shaky play here and there, but long term, man, he's an exciting young player, and they're not quite the defense that we thought they'd be. He might have to air it out a little bit more, so I'm excited to see it, man. He's a talented kid, and he has a really good opportunity.
Yeah, you talk about being thrown to the wolves here. I mean, you don't get any first-team reps. You don't even think you're starting. You find out a few minutes before the game that you're starting, and you're starting against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl defending champions. Like
you went to overtime against the world champions.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And he was poised, man.
And
it's exciting.
And it was because of him. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they ran the ball 100 million times and you just kind of protected him. He was the reason that they got to overtime. So yeah, I think I'm with you. I think he's a breakout candidate. If you drafted him, yeah, he was fun to watch. All right, let's pick this game. Panthers at Chargers. Who you got, Matt?
Easy one for me. Chargers defense dominates in this game. Chargers all the way.
All right, Ryan.
Chargers.
All right, sweep it. CMC without not being there gives him no chance at all. So yeah, Chargers for me. All right, Matt. Next one's for you. Jets at Colts. And my question to you is basically Nyheim Hines. He burned us last week. If you added him off of waivers, or if you're like me and you already had him in pretty much every league, because I was really high on him all off season, he burned us. Do you go right back to the well this week, or are you a little bit more gun shy?
I would not go back to him this week, and the reason why. A player like Nyheim Hines, he's going to be inconsistent. He's going to be game script dependent. If the Colts have to throw the football a good amount, then you play Nyheim Hines. They're playing the Jets this week. I don't think they're going to have to open up the offense. What you saw last week is they had that game in control the entire game. So they could just run the football and ground and pound it. If they have to open up the offense like they did in week number 1, where they were chasing, that's where you want Nyheim Hines in your game. So, again, looking at this game, if I imagine how I believe it's going to go, they're going to beat up on the Jets all afternoon long. So this is not the week to play Nyheim Hines. Find a matchup where you're imagining they're going to have to throw the football.
Yep, I'm with you 100%. He's not game script proof like some running backs are. I think he has to be there when we're passing the ball a ton. So, agreed. Nyheim Hines, keep him for your season, but don't play him this week. All right, let's pick this game. Jets at Colts. Anyone taking the Jets? We'll just go that way. Anybody taking the Jets? Going once, going twice. All right, so we're going to skip that. Colts are going to be the sweep there. All right, Ryan, going back to you with a really good game here. Cowboys at Seahawks.
Breakout or fake out?
All right, I was avoiding this guy in my waiver wire, and he came out and had a pretty good game there in week 2. Mr. Dalton Schultz, the tight end there. Rest of season, what do you think for him, Ryan?
I think we're going to see very similar what we expected out of that position. There's going to be good weeks. The volume was great, but the way Dallas spreads around, it's going to have some game plan. Michael Gallup disappeared this week, which means he could be there next week. I don't love Dalton Schultz. I'm not against starting him any given time, but my expectations are definitely tempered with him. I think he's going to get you typical tight end, like that mid-level 11 to 18 tight end range where he could just vary and either be awesome or suck depending on touchdown dependence.
I agree, and I think the rest of this game is just a start your studs game. Obviously, starting Dak, starting Wilson, starting Cooper. Just play all your studs. Dalton Schultz is the one guy you got to make a decision on. All right, let's pick this game, Matt. Cowboys at Seahawks. This is the tough one here. Who you got?
Yeah, man, game of the week for me. Can't wait to see it. Like you said, start everybody in this game. But I'm not betting against Russell Wilson, man. He's playing like the MVP of the league. I'm going to ride with Russ as long as he's hot, and I think he's hot all year long. So let Russ cook. I'm taking Seattle.
All right. Ryan, who you got? Cowboys at Seahawks.
Seahawks for the exact same reason. Russ Wilson has the best weapons he's ever had, and he's just taking pure advantage of it.
Yeah,
he's a monster.
It would be funner to watch if I wasn't a 49ers fan, because what he's doing right now is unbelievable. I think he has, 11 incompletions and 9 touchdowns, something like that, some crazy stat. That's insane. All right, next game is a featured game, Bucks at Broncos. And Matt, I'm going to go to you first.
It's time for this or that.
Usually for this or that, I pick 2 opposite guys on the opposite teams, but this week I'm picking 2 guys on the same team. Are you starting Rojo or are you starting Fournette this week?
Man, I had been off on Rojo all offseason long. He finally got me in, and 2 days later, the Buccaneers signed Leonard Fournette. So, no, I'm not in on Rojo. I feel like last week was very telling. Leonard Fournette seemed to pull away in this competition for me. He's a more complete back. But the Buccaneers want Leonard Fournette to take over the backfield. So for me, it is Uncle Lenny all the way. All
right, and Ryan, I was going to go to you on the Broncos side of things, but we kind of talked about it already with Sutton. So I'm going to skip the question that I had for Broncos and ask you the same question: Rojo or Fournette?
Fournette. Fournette's a stud. Like, I don't understand all the bad talk he got before the season, where he was dropping down drafts, even on a Jags team that we thought was going to be terrible. He's a good back, and he's produced without any volume this week, and he's not seeing a lot of stack fronts. He's going to get his, man.
Yep, I'm going to sweep that as well. I'm going to go Fournette. I think he's finally his backfield. Rojo got his first week, but Fournette showed what he can do last week, and I think it's a lot more than Rojo can do. All right, let's pick this game, Ryan. Bucks at Broncos. Who you got?
Bucks. Broncos are beat up.
All right, Matt, who you got?
Easiest call of the weekend, Tampa Bay, huge.
All right, I'm going to go Tampa Bay as well, so we're going to sweep it. We got 3 more games to get to, so let's quick fire these last couple of ones. Lions at Cardinals, Matt. The only question I have in this game is Galladay expected to be back. Are you just plugging him into your lineup and just running with him, or are you worried about his hammy?
Yeah, the hamstrings, man, are nothing to fool around with. I'm probably going to put him on my bench if I have any suitable options. I mean, listen, injuries have happened all across the league, so you may not have any additional options. So if you have to, desperate situation, Kenny Galladay. But for me, if you can afford to, give him a week to rest.
All right, let's pick this game. Ryan, who you got?
Cardinals. Yeah, Kyler's got that offense humming.
Yep. What about you, Matt? You going Cardinals as well?
Yeah, I don't see any way Detroit can stop Arizona. Arizona all the way.
Yep, I'm going Cardinals as well. I think tonight I've picked every NFC West team tonight. That's not a good thing. I'm supposed to be picking against these guys, and I'm picking them.
You should have picked against the 49ers with me, man.
All right, next one is Packers at Saints. Ryan, the question I have for you is, are you worried about Drew Brees in this passing game? He hasn't looked good for 2 weeks now.
I don't feel as good about it as I felt before the season, but I think something's come around. I think they need to get Kamara more involved in it, and he needs Michael Thomas back. That offense isn't the same without MT killing people on slant routes all day. But I'm a little worried, but I'm not like slamming on the brakes. It's just kind of like a proceed with caution. I'm not starting him unless I am desperate.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I do think the loss of Michael Thomas also hurts him a little bit as well because he had such a rapport with him. Even though he didn't have a good week one with him, I do think that overall, I think he helps Drew Brees a lot. All right, and then we have, let's go ahead and pick this game. Packers at Saints. Ryan, who you got?
I'm going to take Packers. I had Saints in my head when I was looking at this earlier, but Aaron Rodgers playing lights out. I think the Packers have a good defense. They're healthier. They look good, man. They look like a team who's going to compete.
All right. Matt, who you got?
Yeah, I'm worried about Drew Brees, man. I feel like Michael Thomas did, in fact, mask a lot of the issues of Drew Brees. I think he's fading a bit here, and you don't want to fade against a Packers secondary. Pretty good secondary back there, so give me Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers on the FU tour.
All right. Yeah, I'm going with the Packers as well. The Saints defense hasn't looked very good either. As much as we've been talking about them this offseason, I don't think that they look very good. So give me the Packers. All right, last game of the night, Chiefs at Ravens. This is the featured game, of course, and this is featured for the NFL. This is going to be the big one right here. Ryan, I'm going to go to you first on the Ravens side of things. Miles Boykin, who me and you talked up in the offseason a little bit, he's got 9 targets through 2 games. He had 22 targets all of last year. Is that breakout still coming, you think?
I think it's coming, but I don't know how big it's going to be. Like, when people hear breakout, it leads to disappointment somehow. Like, I could see him turning himself into a wide receiver 3 being a breakout. Like, there's not enough volume to go around with Hollywood and Mark Andrews there. He could definitely end up being somebody you could start to pinch down the line. He's not leaving the field, that's why, because he's a really good blocker, and he's going to get some targets, but I'm not sure he's somebody I really am grabbing up in fantasy as much.
Yeah, I think I'm with you as well. The volume's not there. I do think he can have sort of a Mike Williams type season that had a couple years ago where he didn't have a ton of volume, but he had like 10 touchdowns. I could see him being a good red zone threat if they can get him the ball in the red zone.
I think that, except for Mark Andrews.
Fair.
Is just a hog in the red zone.
Fair point. All right, let's go to the Chiefs side of things. I did hear today that Watkins says he's healthy, but we haven't got an official word on it yet. Players always think they're healthy. So if Watkins is out, do you prefer McCole Hardman or Demarcus Robinson, or do you think it just goes to Tyreek Hill and you don't want either one of these guys, Matt?
I would probably lean McCole Hardman. Again, in this matchup, I don't believe they're going to be able to dink and dunk the ball down the field against the Ravens. The Ravens defense is too good for that. I think your only hope is to get a big play, and a big play for me screams McCole Hardman over Robinson. I wouldn't like either play, but if I'm forced to choose one, it'd be McCole Hardman.
All right. I think I'm with you as well. I think McCole Hardman offers more upside. But again, I'm not starting either one of them unless I really, really have to. I mean, if you have like, I don't know, Galladay, if he gets ruled out for some reason, or if you've got Devontae Adams and Julio Jones and they get ruled out and you got to start somebody, McCole Hardman's not terrible. But I don't want to start either one of these guys if I don't have to. All right, let's pick this game. I'm going to skip you, Ryan, so I know who you're going to pick. Matt, who you got? Chiefs at Ravens.
Hey, for my money, over the first 2 weeks of the season, the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in the league. Offense, defense, Baltimore looks great. I think that they're a nightmare matchup for Kansas City, a team that can run the football, can press them in the line of scrimmage on defense, and be very physical. I think the Ravens win this game, and they win by 2 scores.
Oof, 2 scores.
I
wow.
like you being on the show.
I'm not going to go quite that heavy with the 2-score thing, but I do think, same as you do, I do think the Ravens right now are the best team in the league. They're playing amazing right now. So I know the Chiefs look good too, don't get me wrong, but I do think that the Ravens offer more problems for the Chiefs than the other way around. So yeah, give me the Ravens as well in this one.
Monday Night Blackout.
All right, now let's get to some of these listener questions here. So Heather Gannon on Facebook asked me, she wants you to pick 2 of these guys, Ryan. Hunt, Deontay Johnson, Robert Woods, Parker, or CeeDee Lamb. Pick 2.
I Oh, this is for like drop. Like that's where I was confused.
No, the first question. She asked another question too about Boyd and Lamb, but that first question, who do you got?
Probably Bobby Woods. Bobby Woods for sure. He's solid as he can come. He's great floor play. If we're talking rest of the season, I may go CeeDee Lamb just because that upside's insane with what he's been getting recently this early in the season. I love the player there. Can't go wrong. Deontay Johnson's played good and Hunt in certain game plans. But I think he's more of a game plan dependent guy. It's a bunch of good guys there. It's a tough decision to make, but give me Bobby Woods and CeeDee Lamb.
All right. And we go to let's go to Heather's question here at Maygirl557. She wants to know, is she playing Fournette this week, or is she going to play Mike Davis, Matt?
It's got to be Fournette for me. I feel like the game script is ideal. Fournette, I think Tampa Bay gets up big in this game. Ride the run down the stretch, which should be Leonard Fournette's game. Mike Davis, I'm anticipating the Panthers to be chasing. So if he's going to make an impact, to be as a receiver, not as a runner. And again, that Chargers defense, if you didn't watch it from last Sunday, they are nasty. So I'm not buying many options for Carolina against the Chargers this weekend.
All right. I think I'm in agreement there as well. All right. Saxy Sunsets wants to know, Ryan. So he's thinking about starting. We talked about this a little bit earlier with Joe Burrow, but a different quarterback. Joe Burrow or Deshaun Watson versus the Steelers. Who are you going with?
This is painful because I'm such a Deshaun Watson person. But I like that matchup with Joe Burrow. The Steelers' our defense is crazy, especially with their pass rush and how many sacks they get on the quarterback. I don't love that matchup at all, so I'm going to go Joey Burrow.
All right. I think I agree there. I think that it's hard to
gross.
It's really hard to bench Watson because you drafted him with the high pick and you probably added Burrow off the waivers or you got him super late. But yeah, you're playing the matchups there. I think I'm going to go Burrow as well. You're going to throw the ball a ton.
It feels gross. I hate it.
All right, we got one last one here, Matt, from Jesse Garcia on Twitter. He wants to know, should I drop Cohen for Jeff Wilson Jr.?
Man, these are not the best options, but I tell you, I think I would. And I tell you why. The Bears have shown a reluctance to get the ball to Terry Cohen. It doesn't seem like they want to get him the ball as a receiver out of the backfield. He's not much of a running back. We've seen Jeff Wilson show off at times. To your point, Jeff, they don't want to run Jerick McKinnon into the ground. I think you'll see a good amount of Jeff Wilson Jr. this weekend, probably around 14, 15 touches. So if that's the case, given that volume, give me Jeff Wilson Jr.
All right, good stuff. And we do have one live question on here, and it's from Jacob Piccolo, I think is how you pronounce his last name. And Ryan, I'm going to go to you. You got to start one of these guys. The caveat here is it's a standard league. So you got to pick one between OBJ, Cooper Kupp, or Devontae Parker. Which one you going with?
Oof. I think I'm going to go OBJ just because the upside's there, touchdown upside's there. He's getting targeted. So I'm going to go OBJ.
Yeah, I think against that Redskins team, I think I'm going OBJ as well. We saw what he can do last week against a weak secondary. I think the Washington football team's got a weak secondary, and OBJ is the one that's going to shine. I do love Kupp, though, so if you went Kupp, I wouldn't hate you for it. I do think that he's going to be good as well, but there's more options in that. Go ahead.
If it was PPR, it'd be different.
Yes, I agree. Agreed. All right, it's time for our favorite segment of the night.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, Matt, you got to come strong. We've had some good ones the past couple of weeks, man. What you got for your Forgotten Fantasy Player?
Man, I'm going to take you guys way, way back. Now, I've been playing fantasy since I was a young pup, man. So, a little story behind this one. So, a friend of mine and I, we still co-own a team to this day, and the team is called PBV. And what that stands for is Playoff Billy Volek. Do you guys remember the name of Billy Volek? Does that name ring a bell to you?
Does not actually at all, and I've been playing fantasy a long time too.
Okay, so I want to dive deep here for you guys. So what Billy Volek was a backup quarterback for Steve McNair back in the day for the Titans.
Wow.
So what happened was Steve McNair got hurt during that year, 2004. Again, we're going way, way back. We're going over 15 years back. So I wanted to get the stat for you guys. So again, this is back when the NFL wasn't as pass happy as it is today. So Billy Volek was a backup. He came in the final 8 games of the year, he threw for 2,800 yards in 8 games.
Whew.
This guy you've never heard of, and he hooked it up with a guy named Drew Bennett. So basically, since that time, we've called our team PBV because this guy basically off the street came in for 8 games and was lighting it up. And he was leading people to championships left and right back in the day. And this guy, I don't know what he's doing now. He's selling insurance. But Billy Volek, shout out to you, my friend, because you won me a championship once upon a time.
Nice. That is a great pull right there. Because now that you mentioned who he backed up, I do remember that season. Remember Drew Benton, too. He's also another player that's kind of forgotten fantasy player as well.
That may not have gone back the farthest, but that was one of the most obscure, ever.
Yep. I think John Lobb goes back pretty far, but some of the guys he talks about, we know. But that guy, I definitely, if you would ask me a trivia question on that, I would have not been able to tell you what team he played for.
You got to go back and do some research on Billy Volek, man. All he did was drop back and throw bombs down the field, man. It was awesome.
Nice.
Love it.
All right, let's go around the room. Give us your Twitter handle where we can follow you at, and your show. Go ahead and plug your show one more time, Matt. What you got?
Yeah, man. And before I do that again, appreciate being on, fellas. It's been a blast. Love chopping it up with you guys. We'll do it again another time. Anytime you need me, I'm here for it, man. But yeah, on Twitter like you guys at Matt McCoy NFL. Last name is spelled MacCoy NFL there at the end. Again, very fortunate to work with fantasy pros, betting pros, dynasty nerds, draft sharks. Basically, anybody and everybody, man, I'm having a blast doing it. Just hooked up with Pick City to give them my picks for the week, man. So, and we still do the podcast thing for fantasyteamadvice.com. Them fellas are constantly grinding, so shout out to them boys as well.
Awesome. Good stuff. Great follow, guys. Definitely give them a follow. Ryan.
Find me on Twitter, Ryan Searfoss at Foss534. Find me here every Wednesday night, 9:30 on the Armchair Fantasy Show. Find me Tuesdays on the Dynasty Draft Room, Dynasty Show. Just doing fantasy implications for Dynasty. We're not doing weekly by week stuff. Like we did rookie previews, or we did rookie 2-week reviews so far, stuff like that. So a lot of fun there. I have the MVP power rankings coming out on goingfor2.com this week. Looks like Josh Allen is in that top 5.
Yep. You kind of teased it a little bit. It should be out. I think by tomorrow is when I got that scheduled for you to come out. So definitely check that out, guys. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Check out our live shows tomorrow night. Dan and Jay are going to preview the Thursday night game for you. So definitely check them out. They go live 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the War Room Live show. With that, that's a wrap. We'll see you next week.